Mike Medeiros é um jovem e talentoso chefe culinário, que cumpre atualmente funções como chefe executivo do restaurante Lyla, na cidade de Toronto. Mike descreve como se apaixona cada vez mais por esta profissão ao longo dos anos.
So I started my career at 17 at a place called Eagles Nest Golf Course, where I was a co-op student, and the executive chef Giacomo Romano kind of took me under his wing. From then, I worked for him for years on end. I think it was 4 or 5 years, and I moved around. I ended up landing a job at One Hazelton Hotel in downtown Toronto. I ended up falling in love even more with this industry, and then from then on, moved on to my career even more, and I kept moving to different restaurants. I wanted to see what else I can learn, and I'd say for the first about 8 to 9 years, it was all about learning and trying to establish what I wanted to be as a chef. I ended up leaving to go to Australia. Worked in Australia for a year, and it was one of the best experiences learning about fresh local produce, local meats, fish, everything.
Foi quando regressou da Austrália que Mike Medeiros encontrou a oportunidade em fazer parte da equipa do Lyla, um restaurante de gastronomia mediterrânea com um grande foco na utilização de ingredientes frescos e locais e na disponibilização do melhor ambiente possível para os seus clientes.
I was very fortunate enough to meet one of the partners here, Daniel. We had a conversation for about an hour and a half discussing what Lyla was. I was sold on the first meeting I had, because they were just so passionate about it, and I really wanted to see on where I could go with this. And so far, we've been open for just about 3 months now, and in those 3 months, I feel like I've really been able to showcase my abilities while pushing my own boundaries, and while having a team that fully support me, and having 2 sous chefs that are absolutely phenomenal.
Mike descreve como tem influenciado este restaurante com diversos sabores e ingredientes portugueses, carregando consigo o que aprendeu com a sua família na cozinha.
I guess bringing in my own heritage was just kind of bringing in myself. Like, the style of food that I do, the style of how we cook, how we grill, how we sear, is just kind of like, I would take how, like, I would watch my grandmother, my grandfather, my avunava, how they would, like, break down a fish, how they would break down meat, how they cooked it, and it would, I guess, just translated throughout my entire life. Like, even my father, like, how he cooks is very, very Portuguese. Like, just the way that he seasons, the way that he adds things, the way that, like, he's not very heavy on salt. I think it's a dietary thing, but I don't know, might be Portuguese. I'm just used to it my entire life. Growing up in, like, that kind of area with food, it kind of, like, really solidified this idea of, like, oh, I can add a little bit of, like, Portuguese in there, like the pimentas and the cheeses, and, like, the way that we grill fish and the way that we cook the fish, and how the whole fish gets eaten, not just the fillet. Like, on the menu, we have a whole rotating fish, and we serve it, I mean, whole, like the eyeballs and everything. Because, like, how I grew up, like, you eat the cheeks, you eat the eyes, you eat everything.
Construir esta carreira de sucesso não foi pera doce para este talentoso chefe, requerendo muitos anos de sacrifício e batalhar imensas dúvidas pessoais e até da família.
My grandmother looked at it and said, "You're gonna do well." My mother and father were a little concerned at the time because, you know, when you make the choice in Canada at 18 years old that, hey, I'm not gonna go to school, I'm just gonna go straight to the workforce and I'm gonna be a chef, you know, there's obviously concerns. My mother and father now are very supportive of my choices. When I left for Australia to go cook, they were head over heels supportive. Like, like, the love that I felt from them was crazy. I know recently my father came in for his birthday with my mom and, like, majority of my family, and they were very proud of the accomplishments that I've created in my career. And I think I almost shed a tear. I think it was a little bit of a moment that, like, my grandmother, this was the first time that she got to try this is the first time that she got to try my cooking. This industry is tough. It is very hard. There's a lot of hours. There's a lot of stuff that you deal with on your own personal battles. And I think that that's probably one of the hardest parts. For me, I am an overachiever. I am somebody that I don't want people to think that I don't work hard. So I would put in the extra hours.
Mike Medeiros confessa como se dedica de corpo e alma ao Lyla, acreditando verdadeiramente neste projeto e sonhando um dia conseguir atingir o reconhecimento de uma estrela Michelin, a mais alta distinção no mundo da restauração, assim como um dia abrir o seu próprio restaurante.
I really am putting everything I have into Lyla. I want Lyla to be successful. When we first opened, I had this crazy little notion that we could be Michelin recommended, and I'm not one to care about the star. It's never been a thing for me, but to be recognized by Michelin is such an accomplishment in my career that like I think I would take a day off and just like lay in bed and just be cheek to cheek with a smile on my face in this beautiful industry. There's so many different ways of doing everything, from even like chiffonading to cutting to butchery to plating, everything. There's so many different styles of chefs as well. And for myself, what I really wanted was to learn, I don't know, just I'd say like 90%. And I don't even think I'm close to that. I think I'm at like 35, 40% of things that I've learned in my industry. I've been doing this for 12 years now. And I think that that's kind of the cool part about this industry is you never stop learning. What makes a good kitchen, what makes a good restaurant is the teamwork. My team, 90% of the time, is in there working and they're busting to get to where we want to be at. But in the next 3 to 5 years, I would love to open up my own restaurant. I'd love to have a few of them. Ideally, I would love to open up one in Portugal or in another part of the country, another part of the world. That's just kind of something that like I've always wanted. When I moved around so many different restaurants, I wanted to just keep learning, and I wanted to know why this industry is so great. And I figured it out at 23, 24 years old that like it's just so different from anything else that I'll ever do in my life.